Welcome to the Selling Show, where we unpack, repack, and break down exactly how top experts sell their ideas, their value, and their services. This is your host, David Newman, and you are in the right place if you want better clients, bigger deals, and higher fees. Get ready to get revved up. You got to get revved up. If you're not revving up, you are missing out. And I have the queen of Rev Up, Mary Foley. Welcome to the Selling Show.
Hey, it's great to be here, David. Thanks for the invite.
So you and I go way, way back. People don't need to know how far back because then we look old.
The Wayback Machine has been
the Wayback Time Machine. Exactly. So tell folks, what was the professional journey that brought you to the work today that you're doing today? We'll unpack what that is and how all of that works. That'll be my next question. But give us the backstory. How did Mary Foley become Mary Foley?
Oh my gosh, right. Okay, so that to not make this boring, the main thing is that today I'm a business coach for women entrepreneurs. How did I get there? Well, we all have circuitous paths. But for me, it started by going to engineering school and deciding I don't want to be an engineer. And so I had to figure out what the heck I'm going to do. And that put me on, well, I'll go where I'd like to show up and work. So I went to the Washington, D.C. area, got a job to pay the bills. That company, working for $8 an hour, which you don't need an engineering degree for that, by the way, that company became AOL, America Online. So I worked for AOL for a decade when AOL was cool. Okay, when it was cool a while ago. But I learned so much, David, about dealing with change and hyper growth and value for customers and all that stuff by being embedded in it. And I became the head of corporate training by the time I left. That's what I was doing. So I didn't know what I want to do in my life. And so I thought, I really like this work. It's called corporate training, but it really was also organization development, which I didn't know how to get that label. So I decided I went and got my grad degree in that. And while I was getting my grad degree, and here's the pivotal part, I got the inspiration to write a book. Now, I never had the inspiration to write a book. It wasn't on my top 10 things. It wasn't like, oh, someone told me. I just got inspired. And the main thing was I wanted to pass on lessons learned about career success, what I did well, and what I also really flubbed up on, but had to recoup on for women especially, because you had to know your ideal client, right? Well, I was my ideal client at the time. I knew where I tripped up. And I knew how we tend to do that. So I put myself on the path to write a book, and it got picked up by a New York City publisher. And then I was like, I've always been inspired by speakers. I'd like to make this book come alive with speaking. So I decided that instead of going into the consulting route, I was going to we're going to give this shot as an entrepreneur to be an author and a speaker, see what can happen and see that. And that was my book comes out in 2001, 2 weeks after 9/11. Not exactly the optimal time, but it was called Bodacious. So I guess I had to live it out as being gutsy and bold. That put me on the path, though, that I've been on ever since from I can't say career because I decided to do my own business, right? So my own profession, which is, I've written 3 books and the author speaker route, definitely done that. And in that process, that's where I met you. You and I met through, you spoke at the National Speakers Association. At the time, it was the local chapter. And that's always good, by the way, because you have fewer people and you can get more David with fewer people, but he doesn't show up on those anymore because, he's too big. So anyway, the point is that that's how you and I intersected. And I really was challenged at that time, which we could talk about I was kind of marketing, but I wasn't selling well. I wasn't effective. I wasn't converting. I was like, what's missing? I was willing, but it wasn't working. And so you really, really helped me with that. What happened over that time as being a speaker, which I enjoyed immensely, except for it came a point where I went, I really don't want to travel all over the place. This was, prior to COVID and prior to the virtual scene. And so I found because the women entrepreneurship numbers were going up and up and up. It had been because really it was the early 2000s. A lot of women started saying, I'm going to do something on my own. And then there continued to be a wave of that. So by the time now I'm thinking about, well, how can I take my experience and kind of reframe it to be helpful and valuable? I had women asking me in the local networking and community building I was doing, going, well, how do you do this to build your business? How do you do business marketing? So I said, well, if I did some workshops and would that be helpful? Oh yeah. So it actually, first thing was, I called it Power Up Your Presentations, which was a 2-day workshop designed for women entrepreneurs who want to use presentations as a marketing strategy. Now, you and I know There's all these groups that want presentations, all right, virtually now as well as in person. Most of them are boring. And yet they're trying to say, oh, this is what I do, and or this is my business, or this is the problems we solve. Then they don't have even a call to action at the end, and they're boring. So I was like, I'm going to take all my years of keynoting and go, flip, here's the path, here's the line, forget about anything else. You're not looking to be a keynote and making the 15, 20 grand. You're just wanting to get a really good set of leads out of this and take it from there. That's how I converted what my experiences into what they needed. And from there, it has led to coaching, which I do one-on-one, but I also want to do group because I realized really early on, this one-on-one thing for Mary is good, but draining. So I need to mix it up with the group experience so they also get more out of it actually too. So I've done that, created a group membership out of that. And that's where I am today. And I've got a new little venture that we can talk about too. That's like an extension really because of the pandemic party.
Yes. Wow. So much to dig into. So there's also just a fun fact, sidebar somewhere in there. You co-hosted a real deal radio show.
I did.
Right. Like terrestrial radio, not like I'm going to record things in my closet and put it out as an MP3. Right. This was like a real deal radio show. Yes. And that also developed a certain skill set of yours, right?
Yes. The show was called, I had a co-host, her name was Susie Galvez, and it was called Girlfriend, We Gotta Talk. And I got to give her creds for that name. Okay. But here's why we did it. So she's an image consultant. Okay. And this was where we both lived in Richmond, Virginia at the time. So she's an image consultant. At that time, I wasn't coaching, but I was getting into the space of career development, speaker kind of stuff. So there was the same demographic of woman. Both of our ideal clients were the same, but they had two different problems. Okay. So we decided, well, we can either pitch to be on media, be on radio shows, podcasts this was 2008, just starting to come in, or we can be the media. So we decided to do our own radio show. It was every Sunday, once a week. But I said, I am not doing this show. It was a local AM station, had a good reach, regionally. I'm not doing it, Susie, unless we get recordings that we own. And I'm going to figure out how to put it up on a blog. So we were doing early podcasting. So for 3 years, every single week. But of course, what did we do? We batched them, but they got aired every week on a Sunday. It's the same kind of thing that for podcasters that do. But yeah, that was kind of fun walking into a station and then people would come into the station and, we'd have them on air. Sometimes we'd have them dial in. But anyway, yes, that was a skill set of interviewing. That was a skill set of pulling out other people's expertise, getting them to shine. And we did laugh a lot and have a lot of fun. And people in the region, some of them still remember us to this day.
Yes. I want to unpack all of this empire because not only, these are hard things. I want to give you a ton of credit. Anytime someone goes, oh, let's just do like a membership. Let's build a community.
Yeah.
And I heard a number of smart marketers say community is the new content. So welcome to 2022. Welcome to 2023. My friends, community is the new content. It's not about you putting stuff out there as kind of a, just one-way broadcast communicator. It's about you convening groups of people and building a community around your thought leadership. So talk about the Rev Up Society, what that is, how that works, and how you are growing it.
So what it is a group of women entrepreneurs, committed women entrepreneurs who are serious about growing their business. It sounds easy to say, but it also means anyone who's not really that serious and just wants a social club, anyone who isn't willing to do the work need not apply. Okay. It's kind of, I'm clear who I want to spend. I could say who I want to serve, which I think is true, but who I care to spend time with. Okay. And they, by the way, by having that, find it valuable too, because there are a ton of membership groups, particularly out there for women entrepreneurs, but not listed but for business people. And you go, they're not all created equal by the quality of people. So I'm a curator of people at first. Okay. And I do that first by defining more very specifically, who is the ideal client, who's the member. And I do have an application process. Okay. Because I want to make sure they're a fit. In fact, all the other gals are depending on me that it's a good fit. And by the way, I have some people I went, oops, didn't pick well. They didn't show up all their colors, when we were going through the application process. So I have in my agreement, which they sign, that I can kick them out. That's the short version. It's in nice legal language. Okay. But I can if they're disruptive. So that happened, by the way, when I didn't kick them out. I just let their agreement expire, their membership expire. And I had a very frank conversation that I don't think it was a good idea they renewed. So you got to be able to play the heavy sometimes, kind of a thing. But how it works is I have it so that every quarter, okay, that it's open for membership, that people can come in. Everybody gets to figure out how they want to set their membership up. And what I found was, and many probably of your listeners have heard of this thing of groups and teams, even in their workplace. They do forming, norming, storming, performing, right? Well, that means that they first get to know each other, and then it takes a bit of jockeying back and forth or figuring out which that's the storming part. Kind of sometimes little conflicts may come out, misunderstandings. They finally get into a groove. Then they start to really benefit from the groove and sharing with one another, encouraging each other and such. I found that if I have to let that process happen with an intact group, I basically give them 3 months before I introduce a new person. And someone may roll out, but they do it. So that's when it's open. I put right now, I've figured out the number of women where I can really hone and get the kind of offer of commitment of my time right now until I cap it. And then I give an opportunity. They get opened up at 1 quarter, but they make a minimum 6-month commitment. And then after that, they go from there as far as the commitment. And I'm a little hesitant to say, well, it was always this, always that, because during the pandemic, when we didn't have a good horizon for sure of what the heck was going to happen, I took it quarter by quarter. And when I felt like, yep, I can make a commitment, I think for the next 6 months, I did it. But that's why I have thought, okay, so next year, I'm looking at the year-long commitment as an option, and only fewer number of people locking in and changing some of the offer of what they get. But that's maybe because of my own personal circumstances that I want to do. But that's basically, okay, maybe how it works. I will say, here's the other thing I'll throw in there. In the Rev Up Society, you get group experience and you get one-on-one with me.
Hey, if you're loving this episode as much as I am, pop over to doitmarketing.com/manifesto and get your free 37-page download guide to how to sell smarter, sell more easily, sell more often. That's what we're here to help you with at The Selling Show. Off you go. I was going to ask you about that because you really have packed this thing with crazy value. So talk about the one-on-one, talk about the group experience. I also want to hear about the app. Dude, you have an app.
I do have an app.
Are you kidding me? I don't have an app. You have an app. This is crazy. Well, so walk us through all the ingredients in your membership.
So I will, and I will preface this by this. And I think everyone listening who goes, oh, I'd like to do a coaching program. I'm doing a membership program. You know, the great news is you can design it any way you want. The bad news is you can design it any way you want, right? So you've got to really keep in mind something that I think that you've said about marketing and the times that we've worked together is that, you know, design it the way that works for you. Don't do marketing you don't like. Don't do a selling approach you don't like. Do what you can do well, because one, you'll do it, right? And also you don't have to do all the options because it's not necessary to get those same results. So first, before I created the group, I did one-on-ones, and then I did like 6-month programs, okay, group programs. So when I decided to do membership, it was because I wanted a continuous rolling. Clients are coming, maybe some might drop off, and it wasn't all happening herky-jerky, like at the end of 6 months and then, you know, and then re-up again. Like that's yin-yanging your revenue. Okay. And I experienced that. And I said, no, we don't need to do this anymore. So what I did is I said, okay, given the experience with group only and one-on-one, what do these women really need? And I asked them, by the way, another big thing I learned from you, you're not sure, should I do this? Should I do that? Ask your ideal client, not the client you don't care to have, not a big Facebook poll, because it don't matter. What matters is the opinion and the feedback from the same people you already are serving or those who are in that exact demographic or ideal client characteristic. So I asked them because I had enough of them. And the other thing is, when you ask them, they go, wow, we get input on what this looks like. And when they believe they've got input, not only feel valued, when you present it and say, well, here's the offer, I've listened to you, here's what I think is best, they believe that not only they co-create it, they've got a little bit of responsibility of like, it's not just Mary's program anymore. It's kind of
yes,
there.
yes, for
That's
sure.
huge. So I asked them, and here's what I found again and again. They love the group dynamic. They loved hearing from other women and what they were thinking. It was also women that had different types of businesses. So it stimulated their thinking, all of that. And they liked the support and then the kind of the camaraderie. Because one of the problems I was solving is, or am solving is, a lot of them they're either solopreneurs or they have a small team. They're building that team, but they're the CEO. Where do they look for camaraderie? Where do they look for peers? So I'm solving that. So you got to give them the opportunity. That's why they liked to interact with one another. But they also said, we really like your direct time and input on my stuff. Not that they didn't get it in a group, but like a drill down, a deeper dive. So I was like, okay, well, I wanted them all to just do once a month, get together as a group on Zoom. And they're like, no, that's not high enough value. So
they get a monthly one-on-one with you, correct?
They get a monthly one-on-one with me and they get a monthly group call. And then what happens is I use the app. Now here's where the app comes in. Okay. Now, all of your listeners who have coaching programs, even if it's not a membership program, you should truly check out coachaccountable.com. I had used in the past Facebook groups, but then I didn't own it. More and more my clients didn't want to be on Facebook group. They didn't go there. I was there at first because they were already there.
Right.
So when that became a problem or it was too variable amongst clients, I said, I need a new solution. So Coach Accountable, what I love is it was designed by a coach for coaches. So they got a coaching mindset. They've got a one-on-one option, and then they've got built into the same thing. And then you can do a group. So I can have all of my clients, David, one-on-ones and group on this. And what I love about it is it's got these different modules whereby, well, here's how I use it. I was able to take my process, enhance it, and then put it on this app. And by the way, fast forward, just because of doing that, I'm thinking I'm more organized and it's better for them. And okay, there's a little training conversion period. They perceive more value. Now, it's real value, I should say. It's not just real and perceived, but it's one of those things like, oh, look, you decided to go from a home office to like a co-working space or a leased space. You must be doing well. You must be even better of a coach than you were before, which is really kind of bunk. But the point is, it's perception. So I did it because I wanted to have a lot of the advantages as the leader and the coach that technology can bring. They have interpreted, they like it because they can schedule their appointments. Everything goes through. I do invoicing through it. But the bigger thing is in my process is I do quarterly goals. Things are quarterly. Businesses run quarterly. We do quarterly goals. Those get in on, quote, a worksheet. And then when we do our one-on-ones and the group, we go back to those goals. What are the next things you're doing on those goals? And those get put in the system, and you can even put in actions. So this accountability, which isn't just 2 weeks from now, did you get it done? It's like, I'll say, hey, David, that's great. What's the next thing we need to do to just, you have a new book that's going to be coming out to make this a bestseller, and you give me 3 things. And I'll say, those sound good. So we kind of make sure those are the top three things that you should be spending time on. Okay. So that first one, when do you want to get that done by? Oh, can I get it done by November 17th? You're deciding it's your activity. Okay. Yeah. And so then right there, boom, put it in on the app, have reminders. It's like a little bit of a nag, and that's what they always tease me. I go, yeah, Mary's nagging me again on this app, but they still do it and they love it. And it allows you metrics, it's called, to track progress. You want to make a certain amount of revenue. Okay. You want to make 10 grand a month. You want to make 20 grand a month. We talk through the strategy, right? But to measure the results or the output. All right. So do you want to put this in at the end of the month, or do you want to do it bi-weekly, or do you want to do it weekly? Oh, and we're going to have a chart, and you're going to be able to go in and you put it in, and it'll remind you and nag you about that too, by the way. But then you'll see visual progress or lack of progress. And so I'm here to help you get clarity on what you're trying to achieve and why, put it into tangible objectives, put it into specific steps, put it into some measurement, and it all gets in on the app. Boom.
Amazing. I want to talk about the accountability aspect of this, because I think everyone listening, every professional expert, consultant, coach, trainer, we think that clients want accountability. And I'm sure some clients do want accountability. Some clients, however, you really have to drag them to this accountability thing, and it's a learned habit. So when someone's not putting in their numbers, when someone has squishy goals, when someone, like you said, the nagging, by the way, is the nagging automated?
Yes.
It's automated nagging, even better.
It has a default time frequency, but you can add and change it.
There's a little field called default nagging.
Yeah, they really
default
should.
Nagging.
Nag button. Click on
What's been your experience as a coach and as a community builder when you say, hey, gang, we're going to have an accountability component to our program? I'm sure that some women go, oh my gosh, this is great, Mary, thank you, thank you, thank you. And some go, oh, accountability. Yeah. It's like getting on the scale. It's like going to the gym. It's like anything else. There's a discipline required from the client for this accountability thing to work. How do you handle that? How do you encourage that and enforce that?
Well, in the application process, if we get to that point where it's a fit and, it seems like it's a fit and we're talking more specifics, because I'll say, well, this is how it works, right? So most people know that they need to be accountable. They just don't necessarily like to be accountable. Okay. Yeah. Right. And one of my former clients said one time, she says, because I asked her when she decided, like, I'm going to do this. I really want to do this rev up with you, Mary. And I said, great. What's the number one reason why you want to? She says, because I know what to do. I just don't do enough of it. I said, you are far from alone. That is true, right? All right. So first of all is to bring it up that, you know what? We all need accountability. We all need it because we know what to do, but we know we're not doing enough of it. But here's the cool thing. When you start doing enough of it, we're not talking perfection of it, but you start doing enough of it and you start experiencing some wins, it's going to be like a drug. You are going to love it. And in the group environment, what happens is the very first thing we do when we have a group session, and this one's done virtually, we have wins. Everybody gets a certain amount of time. I don't want to talk about your problems. I want to just talk about your wins, which will tie in so often to their, they won't say, well, I had all these accountability items and here's what and I did them all. What they'll do is they'll talk about the results. So what got through the results was the actions, right? So it reinforces, I want to feel like this, right? And so that's the biggest thing is I have found is wins. Not only they say it, but their peers cheer them on. Means more to them than Mary the coach.
I'm curious for this platform, the app that you have, is there also like a gamification element to it, like prizes or levels or rewards for doing 3 days consistently or anything like that, or not really? Not really.
Not really. That could be an enhancement. Gamification does work. Here's how I gamify, and not in the classic way you're saying, but the way I gamify it is I just want to make every particular group experience fun. I make it fun. I make it playful. I kind of make it where that's the kind of the reward. But I want to say one last thing about this group program. But a component of the Rev Up program is that you get first dibs on a retreat, an in-person retreat that's 2.5 days that I do twice a year. I am just about right now. I got 2 more spots. It's in November. It's about sold out. I got 2 people like, I want to talk to you about it. I want to talk. So they haven't completely gotten in, but this is going to get in. And it's huge, David. It's huge.
Well, let's talk about retreats because I know that, and these are like small scale retreats, like 10, 20 people.
Yeah.
Tell us about your retreats. Tell us about what happens there. Tell us about how that also kind of feeds the business or feeds the retention or feeds the client experience.
It definitely feeds retention. When a gal is no longer part of the society, I have long-term clients. One client is just about to finish up 6 years. Had no clue when I first started that would be the case. But on average, women are staying with me 2 to 3 years. But they also, part of that is the results they're getting. And one woman, she just said, oh, I want to keep going because I know if I hang with you and these other women and I keep at it and stuff, my business will continue to grow. And she quit a full-time job she hated, took a side hustle and said, I'm going to make it the main thing. And when she joined the society, she had just done that. Her first goal was to replace the income she made at her job. She did that within 6 months. 88% of small business owners who are women in the United States, 88% make less than $100,000, David. And I know you use these numbers. Okay. So many of these women were kind of in that, but they have gone to now, they've gone to six figures and they've gone to, multiple six. They haven't done seven. That's not the point. The point is they're like amazing progress. And I just say that because I'm proud of it. Yes, because this is work that I care about. I want to make a tangible difference in their mindset and in their bank account. So with the retreats, retention is a huge part. I thought at the very beginning that I created these retreats, that this would be the entry point. Let's try out Mary's Rev Up, Society by going to this. And then what happened is they showed me, this is really a benefit once you're in. I've still had some new people come, but generally because they get first dibs, it fills up. Okay. So it's 2.5 days. It's in person. As I said, here was my thing. This was done on purpose. A lot of my clients are regional, geographically regional. I do have some that are farther afield and they come in and they fly in, but I wanted to make it within 4 hours of driving distance. Okay. For most people, don't have to worry about planes, trains, automobiles, just automobiles. Okay. I move it around. So sometimes in the mountains, sometimes I'm at the beach. I rent an Airbnb, the full property. I check out that property. I know exactly what I'm looking for. Hey, my clients, they want their own bedroom. They're willing to share a bathroom, but we're not talking bunk beds. Okay. So you got to give them what they want, right? So I find a large Airbnb, multiple bedrooms, multiple bathrooms, nice location, great kitchen. I've had personal chefs come in. I've had catering, but the food's on site. It gets to be a feeling of a retreat, an escape and away. And then I take them through the process. And that has changed over the years because of what they need. But I've landed on, we're looking at quarterly reviews. We're looking back. We're planning forward. We're identifying challenges. We're getting together an extended time to brainstorm and break through the challenges. And then I show up on the second day. They don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I introduce a topic and we work with it that I know as their coach, they need to go there. So, it's been said, give people on the retreats what they say they want, what they need, but you give them something they don't know they need.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. There's a group dynamic, right? There are activities, there are experiences, there are deeper levels of connection that happen in a retreat setting. Am I right that you sell this retreat publicly? Is it a higher fee than for your existing clients? So in other words, clients get preferential pricing.
Actually, no, they don't.
Oh, they don't. Well, good for you. Good for you.
I decided that is such high value.
Tremendous. But they get first dibs. Like you open the registration to them first.
Right. It's being able to go. I think that's really become the thing. I've had women who are with me like 2 years and then they kind of graduated. I've had several women apply and get into the Goldman Sachs 10,000 business program. Right. I'm like, I helped launch them into that space. Okay. And that program can do things that I'm not designed to do. But here's the thing. They're alumni now. That's what I call them. They come back to the retreats and they also get on the first dibs list.
Wow. Very nice. How about that? Let's move on and talk about VIP days, because VIP days is that is something that is on the horizon, in the works, correct?
Yes. In 2023, I've been doing this particular model of the one-on-one and the group combo and then adding the retreats. And by the way, we did retreats all during the pandemic party. They were more valuable then than they had been before.
Wow.
I'm like, we're escaping into the car. And I could have served in that one in the middle of the pandemic. It was in August of 2020. Can you believe that? Who would normally I'd never have a retreat or an event then, but I had booked for April 2020, paid for the whole thing. And I got the owner of the Airbnb I was an entrepreneur, didn't want to lose money either. I said, can we shift it and I won't cancel and you won't charge me the change fee? She's like, done. Okay. So anyway,
Right.
I could have served donuts and, pizza and they would have been thrilled. Okay. I'm just saying
Right.
as an example. But in 2023, what I want to do is concentrate my coaching time, still be of service. And so what I am considering are ways that they get some one-on-one, but it's like, it's a half day or it's a full VIP day and they get that treatment. So I'm thinking of that 2023 is going to be about quarterly retreats twice a year that are the 2.5 day, then 1 day retreats on the other quarters. And then in between the quarters, the halfway mark, a group online coaching. Okay. So what that means is for me is it's a bit less time commitment. And the reason that is what's driving that really, David, is it's a life decision to change my calendar to have availability for my aging parents who we actually even just moved 3 months ago. So we're 2 miles away from them. I only got one shot at this with my parents. That's how much they mean to me. And of all my siblings, I can do this. Yeah. So that's why, but I also still want to be able to coach.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge lesson, right? Because everyone talks about lifestyle business. Yeah. And when you look at what they have going on, it's like, that's a lot more business than it is lifestyle. I have no free time. I'm maxed out. I've got kids. I've got aging parents and I can't do this and I don't have time for that. And you have re-engineered. There's the engineer coming out. Right. You've re-engineered your business to truly suit your lifestyle and serve your clients and have fun the way that you want to run your business.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for that. And I think anyone listening can, and I think we know it intellectually, you got to own it personally. You got to own it emotionally. So I know plenty of coaches making more revenue than I am, have more, world domination in their area than I do. And I say, yay, good for you. I mean, seriously. And there's a part of me that says, but I don't care for that for me.
Yeah.
So can we say, isn't that great for them? As long as it's working for them, right?
Yeah.
Because we've seen plenty of people who are sacrificing who they are and their health and other things for something. Why? On the altar of, hey, see how much I win, see how much I'm, so what? So we got to ask that question to ourselves. And I've been down that road. So I feel like it don't matter. There I am,
I look at that as the contest you can never win.
Yeah.
Right? It's never going to be big enough. It's never going to be enough zeros after your bank account. And at some point, it's like, you know what? We're moving from, hey, survival to, let's focus on the revenue to let's focus on significance. Let's focus on service. Let's focus on meaning. Let's focus on fun. Because above a certain revenue level, it's like, why are you in this rat race? If we were wanting the rat race, we would have stayed in corporate.
Yeah, I think about that because, I definitely had a moment where I could have continued on that. I left AA after 10 years, but before I made that decision, I kind of went through the organization and I talked to some key people, like the president of one division. He said to me, if you want to stay here, I will create a position for you. I'm like, Shazam. Then communicated huge value. So I took it in as I got options. What do I really want?
Yeah.
So hopefully this has been somewhat encouraging for the gals and the guys listening. And by the way, interestingly enough, I haven't created an online course, but I was seriously considering it. And it can be an option. But here's what happened to me. I don't need a course. I need community. I need to build a community, not a course. I can have a course later, but if I do not have a community, I don't have the audience, right? And I know I could create a DIY thing and I could market it out and I could have these funnels and all this kind of stuff, but the meaning won't be there for me in the fulfillment.
Wait. We're not just going to listen to this episode. There are downloads, there are resources, there are links, there are bonuses waiting for you on this episode's page when you go over to doitmarketing.com/podcast. That's right, doitmarketing.com/podcast. Grab the notes right under this episode. See you over there. Well, talking about community, as we're kind of wrapping up here, last major topic for us, Live Like Your Nail Color.
Right.
You came out with this amazing book years and years ago. It was kind of a side project, and then it's waxed and waned, but now it's back full force like a hurricane of excitement. Talk about Live Like Your Nail Color and what's going on with that empire that you're also running and building.
I know. It's crazy pants because in some ways, and so this book came out. The book that is kind of the inspiration of of what I'm doing with it came out in 2010. Oh my gosh, 12 years ago, it was like ancient. And I remember when it came out and I did a lot of speaking around, even created my own nail color polish. And it was fun. It was just pure fun. It's called Live Like Your Nail Color, even if you have naked nails. And it's about discovering sanity, confidence, and fun at the tips of your fingers or toes. And so I took this activity, this thing that 86% of women do already. All right. And I got that statistic. And I said, how can we leverage that? Something simple that can add some more. This is about mindset and add some more. Like not only just mindset, but I'm really not in charge of my life. I really am. It's really my life. I need to live it. And it's as much as I'd like to say, oh, we really got a grasp on that one as females, not always so much. So anyway, the reason, and I had a good run with it and it was fun, but then, recession of 2008 really kicked in. People didn't want to be so happy, joy. So I decided to go back to some career stuff, but then I quickly got into coaching with women entrepreneurs. So it was in the middle of the pandemic party where it got prolonged and it just kept going. And who knew how long it was going to last, but it certainly was more than 3 months. And so after that, hit that 3-month mark and it goes to 4 months and 5 months. I'm like, man, people are depressed. Man, people are down. I'm going, where's the light at the end of the tunnel? We don't have a light, and let it not be an oncoming train. So, but I just sensed that a lot of people did. And I thought, okay, I can go out there and argue in some way and say, don't be this way or whatever. And I'm like, or I can join the train of everything's so sad or isn't that so sorry and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, that's a downer for me personally. Yeah. I said, one way I can help to contribute to the psychological space is to bring something that's not just more positive, but actually fun, that has a component and actually some truth about life. And you get to really decide how you respond to everything. So Live Like Your Nail Color came to my mind and I went, now is the time. Now is the time. So it was a book before, concepts are in there. However, I thought personally, what I like to do is podcasting. So did the radio show, actually do a podcast for a bank to attract women entrepreneurs and they pay me to be their host. But it's not my podcast. Okay. So I don't talk about it a whole lot because it's their deal. But I said, I like podcasting. And so I decided that's how I'm going to build the community. I'm going to start putting something out there of value that, yes, it's free. Most people don't pay for subscribing to a podcast, but I really am doing it to attract my ideal client, community member, and from that. So it is not limited to women entrepreneurs, but my ideal client are women who are working women because I think in that high relatability, 40 plus years old, they want to believe. They believe that life has been good or I can pick, but they really want to be around like-minded women who believe that too and are not willing to just say all of society sucks and all people suck and my life sucks. No, there's some good stuff here. And you know what? Your nail color is the small little thing that can cheer you on. We talk about nail color. I use that as the metaphor. It's about recognizing your strengths, boosting your resilience, leveraging the power of choice because you can change your nail color anytime and embracing that life is an amazing adventure. I work these themes in all the time of simple thing called nail polish. And I focus on how can we flip the chip? That was the other thing. How do we flip the chip? Get chips on our nails in our lives, chip. Life's chipping everywhere, but we get to flip that chip and take a tough challenge or a difficult situation and flip it into something positive that moves us in a forward direction. So I am just kind of like a dog with a bone. I will not give up on that belief because it's been true. It's not just a belief. I think it's a truth. And this is just fun packaging.
Very nice. That's really tremendous. So Live Like Your Nail Color is a podcast. Is it also other things or right now it's just
it's
taking on a life as a podcast?
It's a podcast. You can go to livelikeyournailcolor.com. And I encourage everyone listening, even guys, if they want to, they might find it's fun. But I have a What's Your Nail Color Persona quiz. You answer 3 questions and you'll find out you're one of 5 nail color personas. I'm pretty sure right now, David, if you answered it, you would be a naked Nelly. That's one of the 5, and you can decide what that means. That's the first engagement. But in 2023, I plan to be offering a membership that you can have a deeper dive into some of these things.
Awesome.
App. So there you go.
So good. Oh my goodness. Well, so 2 final questions as we're wrapping up. The final question is, where can people go to get more Mary Foley brilliance? But before we get to that question, if folks were to take one overarching idea from our conversation today about success as a woman entrepreneur and the whole journey that they are on, what would you say that overarching takeaway concept should be?
Start now. Just start. The biggest thing, and one of the things that you in our work together, I mean, I was part of one of your membership programs in the past. And, I know that one of the values you brought was introducing me and giving us all the book, Do the Work by
Stephen Pressfield. Yeah.
Yeah. And, he's got the War of Art. He's got, Turning Pro. And the big concept there is there will always be something, no matter what level you're at. He calls it resistance with the big R. That will go whisper in your ear or give you an idea. No, you don't want to do that. You're too tired. This is too hard. Oh, that'll never work. Bunk. It's all bunk, but you got to recognize it a bunk and you have to start. The most powerful thing you can do to build your business, to get more sales, to find the right ideal client is to start. Do an action, then do another and do another and do some feedback loop. Does that work? What's it not? And tweak and do another. Do that and not give up, but not just do to do, but review. You got to do and review. So to me, that's the thing that's always gotten me unstuck. That's always made me go for it. That's always made me go, yeah, I'm going to do that. Because if it doesn't work, so what? My goal is to live life without regrets. Try, doesn't work so well. Okay. Might have egg on my face, might be embarrassed. So what? I tried. And I value that more highly. So taking action and the next one and the next one will get you farther faster than being brilliantly skilled on something that sits in a box.
Amen times 10. Could not have said it better. So where can people go to connect and get more Mary Foley brilliance? We're going to put all these links in the show notes, but where can we send people? What can we give folks?
Well, I appreciate that. All right. So I would recommend that for women entrepreneurs to connect with me on my website, maryfoley.com. There is an option for the 7 critical mindset shifts. It's a guide. And it's called From Now On, 7 Critical Mindset Shifts for Women Entrepreneurs Going Forward. Just start is one of them. But here's the thing. These mindsets, they were true before the pandemic. But of all the mindset shifts that I think women need to make, any real entrepreneur has to make, these are, to me, 7 that you'd better really wrap your head around. And so I packaged it and put it in this download. It's got some fun graphics because, like you, David, I love the color red and white and black. And, we just got to do something with it.
Totally.
The second is if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'm there under, Mary Foley as my personal, but also my business is Mary Foley Rev Up. And for the podcast, go to livelikeyournailcolor.com. The quiz will pop up immediately. If you want to take that, you can listen to the podcast there. It's also available on, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, many of the platforms, Amazon that you're used to. So you can do Live Like Your Nail Color with Mary Foley. And Live Like Your Nail Color is my handle on Instagram as well as on Facebook.
Awesome. Well, Mary Foley, you are such a rock star. All of these links, by the way, are going to be in the show notes directly under this episode at bestsellingshow.com. Mary, thank you for being with us. And thank you for all the value bombs that you shared. I mean, wow. Holy smokes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks so much, David.
And that wraps up another episode of The Selling Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, tell a friend, go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thesellingshow.com. See you next time.